Yes, my friends, there are very sophisticated techniques of brainwashing that are being used on you right now. Let me explain. Do you find yourself a bit unclear as to exactly what narrative you're supposed to be following? Do you find yourself a bit unsure as to what exactly the numbers are and to what the science is telling you you're supposed to believe, or what kind of yab you're supposed to get, or what the new rules are that you're supposed to follow, or how many variants there are, and all of these blah, blah, blah. Bunch of numbers and confusing statistics. Well, some people would say this is by design. Of course it is. Listen, when I was young, between maybe 9 or 12, I would ride my bicycle to this military surplus store on the other side of town, because this is way before the internet. And so to get this kind of information, you have to actually seek it out and go there. So in the surplus store, they had this section of books, and all the books looked like this. They were the official Department of Defense, blah, 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 a bunch of numbers and all that, like actual books from the defense, the Army in the 60s and 70s. And ones like this as well. Yeah. But so many more of them. Titles like the CIA Handbook of Trickery and Deception, or MK Ultra Declassified, or blah, blah, blah. There was all these different titles, okay? But I found myself fascinated with what was in these books, because they described techniques of controlling someone's behavior without ever touching them, and in fact, without ever even letting them know they were being controlled. And I found it fascinating at the time. So, no doubt, I read the books and went to school and tried all these techniques on my friends, and it was great, and it was funny, but the older I got, the less funny that became, so I had to kind of stop that sort of thing. But the point is that these techniques of controlling someone's behavior without them ever wising up to the fact that they're being controlled were being researched and perfected decades ago. And so the reason I'm telling you this is because in 2020, when this whole thing came about, I began seeing these exact techniques being used on a massive scale. Okay? These exact techniques of controlling people without letting them know they're being controlled. What do I mean by this? Here's a couple of them, even though there's way, way more, and I'm doing this from memory, so stick with me, all right? One thing that they talked about in the books was you have to fracture the target's mind, the target person or target population. You have to fracture their mind. You have to keep them from completing logical sequences of thought. So to do this, you have to implement what they called thought-stopping techniques. This could be anything from an electrical shock to a noise to some kind of disturbing stimuli that that stopped the person's train of thought and diverted it immediately to something else. And that the more that you train the target with this kind of reinforcement, the more fractured their mind becomes, the more they are unable to focus and solve problems, and thus find a way out of whatever predicament you've put them in with your mind control shit. And over the past couple of years, this has become so clear to me. All right? We're not receiving electrical shocks like they would do to maybe prisoners or something back then. But think of the device you're holding right now, or that is in your pocket, or that is very close to you right now. Randomly, it goes off. Boom. And you receive a jolt of stimuli. Think about when you get a call, whatever you're doing, you got to run and grab the phone. Or you get a text, ding, you got to run and grab it. Or a notification. And it has to, and this was part of it that I remember, it has to be random. That the target could not suss out any kind of pattern and therefore predict what was coming. It had to be completely random. Just like the phone. Just like the ads on this video even. Which, yes, I put ads on my YouTube videos because I'm not going to let YouTube use the content for free. So please just stick with it. But even the ads on the videos, randomly, boom, ads, 5, 4, 3, boom. And then it goes into an ad. And you have to restructure your mind. And it's training the mind to not have the ability to think in a long, coherent pattern. Yes. Also, this is happening through television. Big time through television. Go back to and watch interviews or television things from the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and you will see that the scenes are a lot longer. They hold on each person's face longer, and definitely on interviews. There will be interviews that are just like this, just a camera, a person facing a camera, talking. And people, that's what they presented to the people back then, because their attention spans hadn't been fractured, or they weren't being fractured as much. So they could focus on what a person is saying. If the thing is 15 minutes or a half hour, they could focus on it. But now look at the ones nowadays, even interviews. They have to, boom, cut to another one, cut to another scene, cut to another angle, cut to another angle, cut to another angle. And if you're watching television, every 1 second or 2 seconds, they have to cut to another scene, cut to another one, boom, boom, boom. These are the exact thought-stopping techniques I read about as a kid. They are. And they're being used on everyone. Another one was what they called hypnotic confusion pattern, to where you have to throw a bunch of information at a person that is conflicting, and it is rapid and repetitive. Okay? And the purpose of this is to, you see, when we go about our day-to-day life, even just walking outside, there's so much information coming at us. I'm not talking about internet information or advertisements. I'm talking about just information about the breeze, the wind, the sunlight, the sights, all the sounds, all the activities, everything that's happening. So much is happening that our brain has developed a filter to be able to filter out all the things that are unnecessary to survival, and to pay attention to what it needs to and disregard the rest. This is a survival mechanism, right? So we have this innate filter within us. Well, this technique, this hypnotic confusion patterns and technique, is where you throw conflicting information at the person to overwhelm this filter. And it puts their mind in a highly suggestible state, in a hypnotic state, because it overrides that filter. Because I will say something to you, state something, throw a bit of information at you, and while the mind is trying to, digest that piece, say, all right, this is logical, I agree, I disagree, this makes sense, it doesn't make sense, hold on, what is this like or dislike? Before you even have time to digest that, bam, the next bit is thrown at you, and it's totally conflicting to the other one, to the first one. So the mind is left going, wait a second, but I was just processing this, and I thought I almost came to a conclusion, but now there's this. Okay, so how are these two related? Bam, now the next one's thrown at you. Do you see? It overwhelms the mind. This is a tactic. And where are we seeing this right now? Big time in the media. All the numbers and, so get the yab and everything's fine. And, now you got the yab. Now it's not fine, actually. You still got to wear one of these. And, actually, you can still get it. Oh, yeah, but it won't be quite as bad as if you didn't have the yab. Oh, yeah, haha. Now you got to get a second one. But now you got to get a booster. Now you got to get 5 of them. And now the numbers are this. They're going down, then they're going up, and then they're going sideways and all Wonka Vader which ways and stuff. None of it makes any sense. Come on. There has to come a time when we say enough is enough. The line has to be drawn somewhere. Where's it going to be drawn? They're invading your mind. Please, you have to see this. So, what can you do right now? Well, if I shot you with a poisonous arrow and the arrow stuck in your leg, would you go, now hold on, what kind of wood did you use to make that bow? And what kind of metal is this tip? And what's your intention of the person shooting it? Blah, blah, blah. Or would you simply remove the arrow? Yes, you would remove the arrow, because if you were concerned about all these details, the poison would already get you. Okay? You understand this parable of the poisonous arrow? You have to remove the arrow. Worry about all that other stuff later. So, what is the arrow synonymous with? The influx of the narrative. the inflow of the narrative. So you have to cut off the poison by cutting off the sources of media flowing into you. All right. I know this is going to be difficult for a lot of people, but it's the only way. Because if you're exposed to the images, you're exposed to all the mind-warping propaganda, it's going to affect the mind. You have to stand your ground right now more than ever before that I've ever experienced in my life. We have to stand our ground and say, no, you are not invading my mind. I am a free man. There is no one who is going to control this. And we have to make sure that is true. And it remains true. So to do that, we cut off the influx of poisonous, garbage, propagandic bullshit that is being pumped into our mind through any source imaginable. Once we cut off this source, then we need to retrain our mind to become unfractured. Years of television watching has no doubt fractured your mind. Movie watching, media watching, all of it. No doubt it has fractured your mind. Reading magazines that are just little bits of information, incomplete thoughts, all of this. So we have to retake back our attention span. How do we do that? One very good way is to meditate. It doesn't have to be long. It can be 5, 10, 15 minutes, but where you just focus on one thing. That kind of meditation, where you just focus on breathing and your mind will wander away, but then you bring it back. Every time you realize it wanders away, you bring it right back and you're retraining the mind. This is powerful. It doesn't take a long time before you start to notice a much deeper experience of life, because when your attention span increases, your ability to be present increases. And when all of that happens, your ability to connect the dots becomes strong. And you can see, instead of just a whole messed up tangle of dots, you can see an actual picture. And you can start to get the picture and say, whoa, okay. This is actually what is happening. I didn't see it before, but now I do. Okay, another useful technique for this is a mantra meditation. Say a mantra over in the mind over and over and over and over. And when the mind wanders away to something else, as soon as you realize, just bring it back. Just keep bringing the mind back to whatever the meditation object is. There's so many, a candle, an image, a mantra, a sound, anything you can attach your attention to and keep bringing it back. And as soon as you start practicing this, you will see, oh my God, my attention span is just a couple of seconds. I can't go but one breath without my mind wandering away at first. But very soon, it will become very powerful. Believe, trust and believe that, my friend. Very powerful. This is how we take our power back. Okay? Second thing, or third thing, I don't know what number of thing, but we must focus on that which is our immediate experience. Okay? If you, to the people that say that they follow the science, okay, well, I follow the science. Okay, I believe that you're following the science. So this is nothing against you. This is nothing personal. None of this is personal. Because I believe you believe this. All right? So, but I'm asking you, if you follow the science, are you a scientist? Are you a scientist? So, probably not. In particular, are you a virologist? Probably not. So while you say you follow the science, do you really? Or do you follow what you're being told? What scientific experiments have you done? What firsthand direct knowledge do you have? Very little, actually, of any of this. So you just have to take other people at their word, which, okay, but that opens you up to a lot of deception. In fact, it's very easy to deceive with that line of thinking. So, and that's just one example, but everything. So come back to your personal experience. What are you actually experiencing? What do you know for sure? Okay. And you will see that your life, there's the narrative, the whole narrative, the whole illusory sort of matrix world that they're trying to pull everybody into, to be worried all the time and be confused all the time and be upset and be quarreling amongst each other, and unvaxxers and vaxxers and Republicans and Democrats and blah, 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 black and white and blah, blah, blah. Any division possible So they want to just keep everyone sucked into that sort of, I call it the matrix. No, no, no longer. That's not how it's going to happen. I didn't come here to be sucked into your little matrix, okay? So we must stand now in our freedom, in our power. Take back your mind. Take back your power. Draw the line. Enough is enough. Yes? Good. Next time.